you secured a dismissal without a cooperation agreement for Lance Corporal Tatum, who was accused. Could you explain that case and in relation to the prosecutor's obligation to seek justice as opposed to a conviction, and how you feel like the prosecutor's office did or did not live up to that in that case?
Now, let me take the suspense away. We made him live up to it, so he did. All right. And here's the background in a nutshell. This is a case originating in Iraq, and Lance Corporal Tatum, who is a free man and always has been, was charged with murder for responding to gunfire from this. We used to call it a little hut or a hooch, but it was a small habitation. And as the Marine squad came across over the hill, they started taking small arms fire from that house. So the commander said, "Go take that house. Be careful, though." And so they moved their way up, and they followed all their rules, and they broke into the back door, and they got fired at. And so Lance Corporal Tatum did what he was trained to do. He took his position where he was, I think, the second man in. The first man took one arc inside the house and looked for people that were still in the house, because they expected that belligerents were in there because they took fire from that house, and it was the only house anywhere around. So they knew that the fire had to come from there. So he took one arc of it, and then Tatum took the other arc. And when Tatum saw movement, he opened fire, and so did the other guy. And they cleared the house. When they came out, everything, they told the superior officer there that the house was clear. Came in, it was that way. When a casualty team came in to see what casualties were there, they found that there was a dead Iraqi, appeared to be a dead Iraqi citizen. That went up the chain of command, and eventually, I'm skipping a lot, Lance Corporal Tatum was charged with murdering that person. Case did not come to trial till that unit had returned back to the United States. So Lance Corporal Tatum did what he was trained to do, and he was facing a murder charge in a mandatory life sentence, the way they wrote up the charges. I had been an infantry battalion commander in the reserve, and I knew what following your rules of engagement mean. And so we really offered a really stringent and forceful defense, saying he is the next to the lowest rank that are actually in combat ground units, and he's supposed to follow what he's told to do. He had no intent to kill anybody that wasn't shooting at him, but if he didn't open fire when they came in like that, where he saw movement, and didn't fire where he's supposed to, then that person could have thrown a grenade and killed everybody in the room. So there was no intentional murder. Murder is not just an intent to kill, but it's criminal. He was following his rules. Well, they went ahead and took the case to trial, and we kept telling the prosecutor in that case, who was a reservist, a civilian lawyer who had been activated out of Chicago, and he was the lead counsel for that. I kept telling him, I won't use his name or anything, but I said, "Major, I tell you, here are the rules of engagement. This is exactly what this fellow is supposed to do. How can we expect him to override a commander's orders? He saw movement. He didn't have time to wait and do an investigation and have an interview or anybody. He fired. That's what he's supposed to do." He said, "Well, let's see what happens at court." So he exercised his discretion to go ahead and convene a jury and get a court-martial started, which, by the way, trials by court-martial are very much the same as trials, and now they're trying to make them even more like a federal district court trial. They're adjusting some of the rules of evidence and procedures, so and some things about the jury that had been substantially different between civilian and the military, and they're trying to get rid of some of the differences. But anyway, I won't keep you because we are in limited time. We kept banging on this prosecutor because he was a senior lawyer out of Chicago, activated to come there just for to be the chief prosecutor in this group that was prosecuting, quote, war crimes. So we just stayed on him. And on the first day of trial, the government dismissed their charges. All right. And that was very rewarding to me because I thought that good justice was done. And of course, it was really great. We had thought that the trial was going to start on the day that this motion was going to be read. So we had, he had some of his family standing by. And one of the highest points of my life was to be on the phone call when I called his parents in Oklahoma City and told them that the charges had been dismissed with prejudice, meaning they couldn't be brought back again, and their son was free to come home and see them again. And the mother's tears, I could just feel them, you know. And so that's that's a long way of saying public defenders want to win for their client as much as paid lawyers want to win for their client. And that ought to be the motivating factor for any defense lawyer, in my view. So that's what you had. What would I tell the public defenders? It's wonderful to have that feeling and hear the words of thanks, and especially if you've done the right thing.